right, we are on Psalm 58. Cindy, are you up to doing John MacArthur today?
Sure.
All right. We're on Psalm 58. God who judges the earth, to the choir master, according to do not destroy, a miktam of David, which was also for 57. Do not destroy. The other theme.
Yes. A prayer for God's justice. When no justice can be found, rejoice in knowing that justice will triumph because there is a God who will judge with complete fairness. And the author is David at a time when men in authority were twisting justice. Doesn't that sound familiar?
Yes, I have a little side note here in my Bible, and when I was reading it earlier, I was like, it sounds like today. It says the psalmist knew that the God he served is a God of justice. He is a God who judges on earth. The judges on earth were ruling unjustly. They were merely humans, but acting as if they had divine power. Yet the psalmist prayed to God, asking him to provide justice for his people and for sudden judgment to come upon the unrighteous. The psalmist was confident in God and his mighty power to bring divine justice upon these evil judges. Jesus echoed the admonition to rule with justice when he spoke to the Pharisees. He scolded them because they had neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. In the end, Jesus Christ will judge the living and the dead. God's justice will be final and established forever, and the righteous, confident in their future reward, wait with great joy, recognizing that their Savior King has already won the victory. So again, going back to, we're already fighting from a place of victory. All right, God who judges the earth. Verse 1, do you indeed decree what is right, you gods? Do you judge the children of man uprightly? No, in your hearts you devise wrongs. Your hands deal out violence on earth. I'm just going to, there we go. The wicked were estranged from the womb. They go astray from birth, speaking lies. They have venom like the venom of a serpent, like the deaf adder that stops its ear, like the deaf adder that stops its ear, so that it does not hear the voice of charmers or of the cunning enchanter. O God, break the teeth in their mouths. Tear out the fangs of the young lions, O Lord. Let them vanish like water that runs away. When he aims his arrows, let them be blunted. Let them be like the snail that dissolves into slime, like the stillborn child who never sees the sun. Soon then your pots can feel the heat of thorns. Whether green or ablaze, may he sweep them away. The righteous will rejoice when he sees the vengeance. He will bathe his feet in the blood of the wicked. Mankind will say, surely there is a reward for the righteous. Surely there is a God who judges on earth. So with Kathy not here, Cindy, if you'll do John MacArthur, and then Lori will do Worsby, and then Kim can do Tony.
Hey, Chrissy, can I read this from the Living Bible version? Do you mind?
Yes, please do.
It says, justice, you high and mighty politicians don't even know the meaning of the word. Fairness, which of you has any left? Not one. All your dealings are crooked. You give justice in exchange for bribes. These men are born sinners, lying from their earliest words. They are poisonous as deadly snakes, cobras that close their ears to the most expert of charmers. O God, break off their fangs. Tear out the teeth of these young lions, Lord. Let them disappear like water into thirsty ground. Make their weapons useless in their hands. Let them be as snails that dissolve into slime, as those who die at birth and who never see the sun. God will sweep away both old and young. He will destroy them more quickly than a cooking pot can feel the blazing fire of thorns beneath it. The godly shall rejoice in the triumph of right. They shall walk in the blood-stained fields of the slaughtered wicked men. Then at last everyone will know good is rewarded, and there is a God who judges justly here on earth. Ouch.
Yes. So encouraging for today. Any other thoughts?
I thought this was interesting. The footnote for 58:1 says, this is called an imprecatory psalm because it is a cry for justice so intense that it seems at first glance to be a call for revenge. For more about imprecatory psalms, see the note on Psalm 35. And I went over to that, Psalm 35, verse 1. And it's another footnote, but it says, this is one of the imprecatory or justice psalms that calls upon God to deal with enemies. These psalms sound extremely harsh, but there are several things to keep in mind when reading them. One, David was fleeing from men who were unjustly seeking to kill him. As God's anointed king over a nation which had been called to annihilate the evil people of the land, this was difficult for David to understand. And two, David's call for justice was sincere. It was not a cover for vengeance. He truly wanted to seek God's perfect ideal for a nation. 3, David did not say he would take vengeance, but gave the matter to God. These are merely his suggestions. And 4, these psalms use hyperbole. They were meant to motivate others to take a strong stand against sin and evil.
I guess that goes back to us, like when we read his words, it sounds like he's wanting revenge, but he's not. He's just wanting justice.
Mm-hmm. And there's archaeological evidence from excavated tablets from Mari and Ugarit, Ugarit, that mimics David's frustrations. That basically there was corrupt leadership in Israel and surrounding nations.
I mean, that's pretty harsh in verse 8. Let them be as snails that dissolve into the slime, and those who die at birth, who never see the sun. Wow.
All right, Cindy, whenever you're ready.
Okay, overview verses 1 to 11. As a lament against tyranny, the first half of the psalm rehearses a series of charges against wicked leaders and judges. The second half, an imprecatory prayer, be obliterated. In the end, the psalmist is certain that God will act with ultimate justice. There are two parts. One, the indictment of unjust leaders in verses 1 to 5. And 2, the imprecation against unjust leaders in verses 6 to 11. Verse 1, silent ones. The leaders were silent when they should have spoken up for righteousness. Verse 2, way out. These wicked rulers mediate the strategy for wicked schemes. Verse 3, as soon as they are born, all people are born totally depraved, without being made new creatures in Christ by God's power. They are prevented by their wicked nature from pleasing God. There are references to other Psalms, Romans, and 2 Corinthians. Verse 4, they're poisoned. The words and actions of these tyrants are like poisonous venom in a serpent's fangs. Deaf cobra. Like a cobra which cannot hear its charmer are these stubborn rulers who ignore all encouragements to righteousness. Verse 6, break their teeth, fangs. The psalmist prays that the means of doing evil would be destroyed. Verse 7, flow away as waters. An imprecatory prayer that the tyrants would disappear like water seeping into sand in a dry wadi. Arrows cut in pieces. Apparently, this is a prayer that the intentions of evil would be rendered as ineffective as broken arrows. Verse 6, the snail which melts away. A simile for that which is transitive, perhaps facetiously based on the idea that a snail depletes itself in its own trail as it moves along. Verse 9, before your pots, thorns. An obscure metaphor implying swiftness. The Lord will quickly destroy the wicked rulers. Verse 10, wash his feet in the blood. The point of the figure is that the wicked will eventually be defeated and righteous will share with the Lord in his victory. And verse 11, God who judges in the earth. In the end, the righteousness will see that Jehovah is not indifferent to, and that's it.
Any thoughts?
Yes. I had oh, and I have a footnote in 58, 6 through 9. David pronounced 7 curses on the men and authority who abused the judicial system, and Cindy just read them all. The number 7 represented completion or perfection. Thus, a 7-fold curse showed David's desire for complete destruction of these wicked men. I just thought that was interesting, the use of 7 again.
Yeah, I didn't even pick up on that. Does he say, I'm just kind of now looking at that, trying to break the teeth in their mouths, tear out the fangs, vanish like water, blunt their arrows, dissolve like snails, never basically live.
Well, I think the snails and those who die at birth who never it's an analogy. I don't know. That seems to go along with the snails because I was counting them too.
Mm-hmm.
The teeth, the ground.
So it's like the teeth and the fangs. That is that one?
I don't know. I had it here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It could be either the fangs and the teeth are the same, or the snail and the.
I think they're two different because if you look in,
Teeth usually represent wisdom.
oh, where am I at here?
So
Right,
is
they're
it?
talking about the adder, which is a snake, and they have the fangs. And then it says tear out the teeth of these young lions. So it seems like there's two
Yeah.
separate animal
So would it be
analogies.
removes their so would that correlate with removing their wisdom and then removing the wisdom of their military forces?
Do they have wisdom?
That's fair.
You know what I mean? Like if they're
Yeah.
evil, like is it wisdom or is it just evil, conniving?
Stupid wisdom.
Conniving would be better. A
Yeah,
better
right.
like
verb.
the adder is a cobra, so it's saying like the adder, like it's like a cobra that cannot hear the voice of the person in charge.
So there's
Fangs, teeth, disappear like the thirsty ground, the useless weapons, the snails. Let them be as snails that dissolve into slime and as those who die at birth, who never see the sun. I'm
What did he
counting.
call that, Kim? Sevenfold curse? Is that what he called it?
He said,
Then it says, sweep away the old and the young, and then destroy them quickly.
What was the last two? Something about the young?
Yeah. Sweep
let them
away
be
the
as
old.
So David pronounced 7 curses on the men in authority, representing completion or perfection, the number 7.
Mhm.
Thus, a 7-fold curse showed David's desire for complete destruction of the wicked men.
Kim, I lost your camera. I don't know if I'm the only one. I don't see you.
Yeah, Kim's camera's not on.
I'm needing my
So that was in 6 through 9.
I'll be back.
All right. Lori, you have wording.
Let me give it a shot here. Psalm 58. During David's exile years, Saul led the nation down a path of political and spiritual ruin as he disobeyed God's law and opposed God's anointed king. I'm sorry, I almost said, instead of Saul, Obama and Biden. Excuse me. Saul was surrounded by a group
Well, you
of.
can go ahead and include Bush and Clinton in that too, because they all are in it together.
Okay.
I don't think any of them are guilt-free.
Saul was surrounded by a group of fawning flatterers who fed his ego and catered to his foolish whims. He put into places of authority people who used their offices for personal gain and not for the national good. They wanted to get as much as they could before the kingdom collapsed. David himself had been treated illegally, and it's likely that many of his men lost all they had because they followed David. This psalm was probably written late in David's exile or very early in his reign in Hebron, and may have grown out of his pondering the mess he had inherited from his father in law. The prophets often preached against the lawlessness of the leaders in Israel, especially Isaiah and Amos. Certainly, nations, corporations, and even churches today need to take this kind of leadership crisis seriously. This is an imprecatory psalm. Accusation, lawlessness practice, verse 1 through 5. David addresses the lawless leaders and asks them if their words were just, their decisions legal, their sentences fair, and their silences honest. Were they upholding the law and defending the righteous, or twisting the law and benefiting the wicked? He knew the answer, and so do we. When they should have spoken, they were silent, and when they spoke, they ignored God's law. The problem? They had evil hearts, for they were born in sin just like the rest of us. However, they made no effort to seek God's help in controlling that sinful nature, but gave in to its evil impulses. It's because humans are sinners that God established government and law. For without law, society would be in chaos. It's from the heart that evil words come out of our mouth and evil deeds are done by our hands. These unjust judges were liars. Their words were like venom that poisoned society instead of like medicine that brought health. David compared them to snakes and lions, both of which are images of the devil. Like the cobra, they obeyed the charmer only when they got something out of it, but they had minds of their own. Snakes have no visible ears or internal eardrums, but they do have small bones in the head that conduct sound vibrations. The cobra responds more to the movements of the charmer than to the tune he plays. Have you ever seen a snake charmer, anybody?
Mm-hmm.
They do kind of go do 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 do.
When they move their instrument, the snake's head goes with it.
Follows it.
Mm-hmm.
Condemnation, lawlessness punished. Verses 6 and 8. Seeing innocent people suffer because of unjust judges made David angry, and rightly so. There is a righteous anger that ought to show itself whenever innocent people are condemned or helpless people are abused. David didn't do any of the things he mentioned, but instead he asked the Lord to do them. He knew that vengeance belongs to the Lord. A lion without teeth is severely limited in his attacks. Water that has soaked into the ground has lost the power to destroy. The arrows without points won't penetrate the body. The snail doesn't actually melt away while moving along the rock, but the trail of slime left behind makes it look that way. The stillborn child is dead and cannot function at all. Let these unjust leaders be gone, said David. Benediction, am I saying that right? Benediction?
Mm-hmm.
Righteousness praised. David added a sixth image to describe their ultimate judgment, which would happen suddenly and without warning. A desperate traveler in the wilderness could cook a meal over a fire of thorns, but the fire might suddenly go out because the fuel burned quickly. Or a whirlwind might come up and scatter fuel, fire, and cooking pots. To use a modern colloquial expression, these godless leaders are only a flash in the pan. There's coming a day of judgment, and they will not escape. David's seventh picture comes from the battlefield and is even more vivid. The victorious soldiers walk around the field, pick up the spoils of the battle, and their feet are stained by the blood of their enemies. Walking in cream and oil was a picture of wealth. Walking in blood was a picture of great victory. The fact that the righteous rejoice at this is no more sinful than the prisoner of war rejoice at the release from a death camp, or that downtrodden citizens are set free from a cruel dictator. After all, heaven rejoices at the fall of Babylon. God vindicates himself, his law, and his people, and he does it justly. So effective is his judgment that outsiders will say, surely there is a God who judges the earth. The end.
I think John MacArthur pointed out too in verse 3 that, and mine's worded this way. It'd be interesting, Rita, to hear how yours is worded again. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray from birth. So honestly, like everyone's born into it, unless they have Jesus, they're going to be wicked. Then I had a side note, all humans are born totally depraved. There are no thoughts, Kim, if you want to do Tony.
Okay. All right. Tony. Of 1 through 5. David challenges certain mighty ones, that is, unrighteous justices, asking if they speak righteously and judge people fairly. Human leaders are supposed to act as God's intermediaries, ruling on his behalf and expressing his own attributes of righteousness and justice. But these leaders had failed in their accountability before God. David thus compares them to venomous snakes. They were guilty of injustice and violence, having demonstrated depravity from birth. 6-8. He pleads with God to execute divine judgment on such evil people, rendering them powerless like defanged lions. The imagery continues. He prays they would vanish in the ground like water, miss the targets at which they aim, and fail to see the sun. 9-11. The execution of divine justice would be like a whirlwind, sweeping away the wicked and bringing great rejoicing to God's people. The judgment of God against evil is a reward for the righteous. The day will finally come when the Lord will set all things right. All sin will be punished, either in the cross of Christ or at the final judgment. The end.
This was reminding me of a video I watched the other day where the girl, she was a dancer, strip dancer, also basically ran I guess it was like a brothel, but kind of undercover, like they weren't supposed to be doing that, but they did. Anyway, she ended up, her testimony was amazing, but she ended up, one of the things that she said in there was how like all the leaders on earth serve the, I guess, father of earth, which is Satan. You know, like, why do we expect them to make right decisions or to do the right thing? Because their master is not God. And as I was reading this, I was thinking that's basically what he's saying here too. Like, they're born into depravity and they're supposed to serve God and represent and treat the people fair, but they don't. They serve themselves. Any thoughts?
I have a couple of notes. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So there's really severe and harsh language here, and there's a pretty good note that I found on how this severe language springs from the zeal for God's honor and for the innocent lives that are harmed by wicked rulers. And the New Testament does echo this in Hebrews 12:29, where it talks about how our God is a consuming fire. And in Romans 12:19, vengeance is mine. So the take-home thought here is, leave vengeance to God, but we can still cry, your kingdom come, like in Matthew 6:10, desiring the removal of evil. And so the practical applications from that are that we need to speak truth to power by confronting corrupt systems, whether they're civic, corporate, or personal. Guard our heart because injustice starts in the heart. So we need to cultivate integrity before God to keep that from happening. Pray boldly. David was never shy with his prayers. He just threw it out there. And we need to celebrate God's rule. In verse 11, it grounds hope in a world where judgment often feels delayed. Pardon. And so some of the prayer points here were pray for justice, pray for leaders, pray for the oppressed, and pray for personal integrity.
Justice, leaders,
Oppressed, personal integrity.
oppressed, and personal integrity.
Because I just wrote this down. It seems like when people get power, they just want more, and more of it.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah. They're overwhelmed by it. But I think Satan has a hold on them, but I may be wrong.
Well, I mean, of course, it makes sense that Satan would attack people in power because it would be more influential for him. That would be a very excellent way for him to corrupt a whole bunch of people and, cause a whole bunch of people to, one, not believe in God because they think they're being oppressed and that God is doing nothing about it. But the whole point of this psalm is like, hey, I see your oppression. God sees your oppression. It may be hard to wait, but he is coming. He is an all-consuming fire. Our God loves righteousness and he will judge those who are wronging his people.
I think too, like I think about back, I forget which psalm it was, but it talked about how they come up with new ways to be evil, and it's like when they have so much power that they're almost bored. They're bored, and they're like, well, how can we amuse ourselves even more? Well, let's oppress the orphan, let's oppress the widow, let's whatever, like just more ways to become more evil. But God, they will stand at some point before God.
Just what was the fourth thing? I had the justice, the leaders, the oppressed, and what was the fourth one?
Pray for personal integrity. That,
Personal
pe-
integrity.
yeah, that people would stay honest and true, basically, because that protects their heart, which protects them from hurting other people, which protects the system of injustice from just continuing to evolve.
You know, thoughts.
I like how Tony described human leaders are supposed to act as God's intermediaries, ruling on his behalf and expressing his own attributes of righteousness and justice. I just can't think of any of our leaders who, I don't know. Well, we just need to pray, I think, for boldness. It's a lack of boldness on well, all of us, but leaders too, because they're going to step on somebody's toes. Somebody's not going to like it.
That's always going to be though when you stand for truth. Especially against someone who's evil. Any other thoughts?
Well, yeah, I have other thoughts, but I can't express them right here.
It's hard to go against public majority, but I think that when you do it with biblical foundation, to me, and I guess it people that are believers in Christ find that even more. That just shows you. I think they are more powerful. They're more. Oh, what word do I want to use?
Influential.
They are more influential, but to me, it's I like an inner confidence type thing, and not being outwardly pompous. So, I don't know. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I appreciate the people who go against the public majority for what is right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that comes with having with leading in godly righteousness. That's the determining factor of leading versus or power in pompousness versus, just justice and being a leader, a godly leader. I don't know. And I'll just say, I think that's where I think the whole party system needs to be obliterated, because I think that creates division, and it makes it hard for leaders to, because it's the whole vote thing and the parties and all that. It's you can't be, if you say the wrong thing, then
And these parties dislike themselves or each other so much that they can't get anything done. See, that's a power trip too.
It is. Anyway,
I'm having an issue right now with Trump, and I feel bad because I feel that he wants to do what's right for this country, but when you name a Kennedy Center that's been a Kennedy Center for all those years, the Trump Kennedy Center, I mean, what some of the things that he's doing for his own pride, I'm struggling with it. I am. I really am.
I honestly don't think we have a choice. I think they let us think we have a choice. they'll have the president who is for the people, and they'll prop him up there, and then they'll have their other person over here. Like, and I think I became really astutely aware of that during the last election when like we went. I mean, it's a lot of detail, but like we went from adamant hate to all of a sudden things changed. We didn't have adamant hate, but we really didn't have a good choice on the other side either. It just seemed very manipulative. The whole thing just seemed very manipulative. I don't know that we have a choice.
Yeah.
I think we had a choice of two that is still going to be controlled by people in power who are trying to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I
anybody
know.
who comes up, even just in watching elections throughout the years, I don't know when Ross Perot ran, but like I loved him. I was like, oh yeah, vote for him. And then I watched what happened during that, and it's like anybody independently trying to come in, they will squash you. They will squash you. Anyone who is influential, who could very much influence, like Charlie Kirk. It's just, I don't know that we have choices except to trust in God and just to be obedient and yeah, evil is evil. Evil will do evil.
I'm like you, Rita. I have mixed feelings because something like that is so arrogant and pompous, but then, he's doing lots of good things internationally. So I guess I just try to compartmentalize it and be like, well, yeah, this was good. That's disgusting. Because I think it's his personality.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just, I try to.
He's a
So
businessman.
what the point of it would be, like, what's the point of that? Except that, I just can do it.
Because I can.
Because I can.
I think, yeah.
All right.
Probably won't be lasting.
There will be another one to replace him. Maybe, if God don't come first. All right, who's ready for our trivia question of the day? Jesse, you playing? Here we go. Who did Jesus say was the God of this world?
Satan.
Yes, it's interesting because that's what we were just talking about. 2 Corinthians 4:4, Ephesians 6:11 and 12. Satan is the God of this world.
Yay, Lori.
Good job, Lori. Gold star for you.
Cindy, I got another one while you were gone too.
Well, good.
Julie was sleeping, apparently.
Oh,
Yeah, it's good to see you, Cindy.
thank you.
All right, this concludes Reading God's Word for today. Until tomorrow.
Sure. And alert.
All right, ladies, have a good day. Love
Hey,
you all.
wait. You can stop recording.